to. So what do we do with that? We can't dismiss it, or we shouldn't dismiss it, because from a human point of view, it's as powerful as anything we know. And yet we can't nail it down in the way that science prefers. So we have this kind of crisis, in a way, a crisis of knowing.
There is a quote in the book that really stunned me, and I'm going to read it right now. I wouldn't try to publish a scientific paper about these things because I can't do any experiments. I can't make glowing raccoons appear. I can't buy them from a scientific supply house to study. I can't cause myself to be lost again for several hours. But I don't deny what happened. It's what science calls anecdotal, because it only happened in a way that you can't reproduce, but it happened. Now, what so amazed me is that this, what appears to me, and John is going to tell us the whole story, to be a description of missing time and a face-to-face encounter with the graves, was written by a Nobel Prize laureate, Carrie Mullis, about an experience that occurred one night in 1985. Can you tell us, John, a little bit about this, since we are in the process of discussing why science seems unable to study this?
Well, Dr. Mullis didn't write a great deal about this in his autobiography, but apparently he was in the woods one night, and there were these kind of glowing raccoon-like figures, and they were very real for him. He then, as he, in this quote, he missed several hours. It was so real that he went back into the woods to try to find these beings or some indication of them, and he couldn't. Yet he knew what he had experienced. So he's like many of the people who have these experiences. People say, "Well, you can prove it," but they can't prove it. They just know. You know, like Ellie Arroway in the film Contact, where she says, "Everything I know about myself tells me that this happened, that this is real." And the people that have been through that, they don't care whether you can prove it or not. It's true for them. It's powerful for them. They know they're of sound mind. Someone like me can verify that they are of sound mind. And the meaning and power and significance of this phenomenon is there, whether or not you can prove it in a literal, physical way, like Dr. Mullis says. Now, another point that needs to be made, these raccoons, these bright raccoons, that's very common.
Yeah,
People
I've seen it myself.
Report that what they saw were some sort of an animal. They saw an animal, a raccoon, a deer, birds, big birds, owls, whatever. But then when you go more deeply into the experience, it turns out that this is a kind of mask, a kind of disguise for something else, which is these strange beings. And this is interesting, because these animal figures, I found out from a South American medicine man who's also I write about in the book, these particular animals that are the disguises that the beings take are also animals that have spirit significance for those particular individuals. Now, the indigenous people, the native people, they know who their power animals are. So, and they, this Bernardo Peixoto, who's in the book, who's a South American, a Brazilian shaman, he says that they can tell which are the ikuyas, which are these beings, which may come disguised as an animal that is the power animal or significant animal for somebody, or whether it, let's say, shows up as an owl, or is it really an owl? In other words, they can tell the difference. But there is some way in which this phenomenon drives consciousness and into a place that is very similar to the consciousness that native people have.
Yeah, I agree with that totally. The deeper you get into it and the longer it stays in your life, the more awe and respect you have for the accomplishment of indigenous mankind, as it were, and the way they have succeeded in penetrating into other dimensions. It's just, they're really awesome people.
I had the experience about 5 years ago, which was very heartening to me, because I was under a fair amount of criticism, or, I couldn't prove all of this, and, it was, how do you know these experiences are real? How do you decide what's real? There was a strong challenging of this, and I was under, as you said earlier, under a lot of pressure. And
Native have your life wrecked.
Well, it was not that bad, but
Sure scared me.
But a number of Native people called me to help me. As they came forward, they said, "Look, we know about this. This is commonplace in our lives. This is Native Americans, and we know about these beings. We've had these experiences, and it turns out that Sequoia Trueblood, who's in the book, is a Native American medicine man. I asked him, well, Sequoia, you know 100, 150 medicine men or so, and in your life, how many of them have had these kind of encounter experience? He said, all of them.
Wow, all of them.
And I found that very supportive because they came, they hadn't talked, they don't talk publicly about this. I guess it's hard enough to be a Native American. You don't have to get labeled a UFO abduction nut on top of it, So,
well,
so they keep it. It's also sacred. They don't talk about these things unless they have reason to.
When I lived in upstate New York, I had two men who came who said to me that they were Delaware Indians, and I have no reason to doubt them. And they wanted to show me something in the woods that I owned at that time behind my house. And they took me back into those woods and showed me a place which turned out to be a place where a number of Delaware medicine men were buried. And as a result of being shown this, I had put in the deed the fact that these, or in the conservation easement that was on the land, that these graves could never be dug up for archaeological reasons, and so that they would be forever kept. And I used to go out there at night, and very often in that particular area, that you would see the graves. I must say that it was never a really direct physical experience, but there was certainly something going on there in that particular space. And I felt like, that these people, the graves were ancient and huge trees growing out of them, and I thought to myself, how long have these people kept in the privacy of their tribal memory the knowledge of these graves? Probably hundreds of years, or maybe even more. So it's that culture that, even in the United States, as oppressed as the Native Americans are, they're still very much attached to the land and to their own past, and there's some kind of a connection between them and this.
Well, in some ways, these beings sometimes seem like the protectors of the earth, and sometimes experiencers are given information by the beings that they are messengers from Source.
Okay.
Source of God or the divine to protect the earth. When
we come back, the lines will be open west of the Rockies, 1-800-618-8255. East of the Rockies, 1-800-825-5033. This is Whitley Strieber at Dreamland. This is Whitley Strieber. Dr. John Mack, Harvard psychiatrist, M.D., Pulitzer Prize winner, author of The Groundbreaking Abductions, and now Passport to the Cosmos, the book that is going to begin the process of really understanding what is going on. John Mack is in contact. He is making sense of contact, something I never thought would happen in my lifetime. When we get back, it'll be your phone calls, your chance to talk to Dr. John Mack. This is Whitley Strieber. It's Dreamland, and we'll be back. Okay, we're going to go straight to the phones. Craig in Washington, D.C.
Hello?
Hi, Craig. You're on the air. You got a question for Dr. Mack?
I'm so thrilled to be on. I love the show.
Thanks.
It's very nice to talk to you guys. And I just want to make an initial comment. The hourly news that we have to listen to when you do your breaks, I hate that. It gives you such a weird perception of reality. Whitley,
it's interesting that you say that.
You were the communion guy, right?
Right.
This moved me. It really gave me yet another in a long stream, apparently, thin slice of enlightenment. You really have helped me out in certain ways, and I really appreciate that movie and its documentation.
Thanks.
Now, my question is, Doctor, are there people that are alive in society right now who actually live with the knowledge of all the wiring under the board of life, of everything? Is that possible? Somebody completely aware?
What depends what you mean. I mean, if you mean in are people like